The following is a commercial program paid in part by advertisers. The opinions and views expressed belong to its sponsors and are not those of Nexstar Broadcasting Incorporated, this station, or their affiliates or employees.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, about the people and the places where we live. There's a pride around here that's been growing with the years, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. Just look at all the reasons why we call this home. And I'm loving living local. I'm coming to in the low country. Said I'm loving living local. It's the only kind of air I want to breathe. I'm living local.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for Living Local, your lifestyle show for all things Charleston and beyond. I'm Ashley Meservey. As the saying goes, history is our greatest teacher, and that's what it's all about today here at Boone Hall Plantation, a place where the stories of the past and the promises of the future come together in perfect harmony. Today, we are going back in time to learn all about this historic Lowcountry landmark where the tales of yesteryear are impacting the hearts and minds of people from all walks of life. Joining us today, we have Ed Hansen. He's a historian here at Boone Hall Plantation. Thank you so much for having us today.
Good morning.
All right, let's start with the history of Boone Hall Plantation. What can you tell us about it?
Well, with the history of Boone Hall Plantations, there's multiple facets. And some of the things that guests need to realize, there's multiple areas to enjoy about Boone Hall. One of the first, of course, is the oaks. Now, the Oak Avenue, that's living oak. And the reason for the naming is that the oaks actually combine and gather underneath, and they help each other out in case they need more nutrition. That's how they survive. They're 200 and 300 years old.
Ed, tell us about this incredible house here at Boone Hall Plantation.
Well, the house is incredible. What's pretty neat is the history. We go through ownerships, but also we try to step back in time. And that's where the furnishings play a role here. The furnishings that you'll see are from the 1800s, so they're of the time frame. Now, one of the questions we get is when people come in, why do we have all these stairs? Well, there's an answer for that. Thomas Stone, that was involved with the construction of the house, he was a diplomat from Canada. And being a diplomat, he would entertain. That's why there's stairs coming down to each room. That creates an entrance into the rooms. But some of the significance of the house is that it brought on the old tradition of the old Southern life. And one of the unique things about this house is this gasolier right here. Now, you may say, gasolier? Yeah, there's tubing and a key to turn the gas on, but there was a problem. We're surrounded by a creek, therefore we couldn't get gas. So what Thomas Stone did, to build the house, he actually put paddle wheels down by the creek, and this house was 100% hydroelectric back in 1935.
So they were quite progressive.
They were very progressive. It was one of the first places in Mount Pleasant to have electricity. Now, another area of interest is, of course, the gardens, the butterfly gardens. What's unique about that, the way they were designed from up top, if you were in a drone, it looks like butterfly wings on either side. And then the path is the body, and then the house was built to symbolize the head of the butterfly. Now, the significance of butterflies, that was used for pollination during the time for the crops. Now, that's the third area. Boone Hall is one of the oldest working farms in the country. It began back in 1681. It was Major John Boone that started Boone Hall, and it actually began with about 470 acres. It was given to him by a marriage. He married Miss Elizabeth Patey, and she had a dowry of 470 acres. That's how we all started. And then over the years, Boone Hall grew to 1,200 and then over 4,200 acres in size. Basically, it's 7 square miles or 10 square kilometers in size. If you're familiar with the area where the town center is, all the way to Highway 41, then all the way up to the Wando River, this whole area was Boone Hall. But over time, in particular the Depression, a lot of the acreage was sold off to keep the farm going. And it went from 4,200 to where it is today, 738 acres.
And that's why it's so important to really preserve it. This is a treasure here.
Well, and especially you can look at Boone Hall is away from it all, in the middle of it all. And one of the things Boone was known for were bricks. That's why Brickyard Plantation's right next to us. Boone, actually with the Horbecks, that was the next generation of owners. They were brick makers, and they would make about 4 million bricks per year. And they had about 85 slaves on the property at that time making the brick. And that would equate to each slave making 1 brick every 3 minutes, every single day, 365 days a year. But it was actually accomplished in 3 months during the winter. All the brick was made. And now the brick also is signified with the cabins over here. That's a whole nother area of Boone Hall. The cabins themselves date back 1790 to 1810. And to make all the bricks though, the children were involved with smoothing that brick. And that's where when you go through the cabins, you'll see fingerprints and thumbprints of the children that were involved with that. Now one of the oldest buildings on the plantation is the smokehouse. The smokehouse is over here in the corner of the garden. Now, it was built around 1750. It's one of the oldest buildings in South Carolina. What's unique about the smokehouse, though, is you'll see a pattern on that smokehouse, and it's diamonds. And that was actually a brickmaker's mark, so that's their signature. Then in cabin 3, you'll see diamonds again. It was the grandson of that brickmaker that was involved with those brick. Then, of course, the farm, we had brought that up, but then the Gullah culture played a huge role with Charleston. The Gullah culture, which reaches from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, had ways and means and spices for food and different traditions that were brought here. One of the biggest traditions that I respect is respect for one another with the Gullah.
Yeah.
So basically where Boone Hall Plantation has some significance to it is that it's been adaptive over the years through changes. It's always evolved to be something new. So even during periods of that, well, it worked, but then things changed and it was adaptive again. And it's still being adaptive today. And that's where Boone Hall actually takes pride in making sure we share with the community and others from around the world history. That's what we're about.
Well, thank you so much, Ed, for joining us. We're actually gonna go speak with Miss Gloria, who's quite popular around here, and she's going to tell us more about the Gullah culture and its impact here at Boone Hall Plantation.
Gullah people helped to build this plantation, to have it where it is today. Being a minister, I look at it at a spiritual viewpoint, and I have people to come up to me and say, you know, how can you do this? How can you tell these stories and be here? And I said, this is where God would have us to be. Sometimes we go through trials, we go through tribulations, sometimes things get hard, and we wonder why. But then in the end, we can see the difference. We see the goals of where we're supposed to be. So I'm thankful to God for being here at Boone Hall to be able to tell the stories that I tell, and for the people that come from everywhere, I say, and they just love, I just feel love being here at this place among the people that come. Usually at my program, I have photos of my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and you know, her children. And people have come up to me and said to me at the end of the show, do you know that your ancestors are so proud looking at you today? And I have my mother also on the table. And they said, do you know your mom is really proud of what you're doing? And you know, it has such an impact on me. And I just love looking at those pictures sometimes all by myself. And you know, thankful for where I came from. I usually do have a little skit that I have, and I have people from the audience to come up and you know, be those characters. I have 3 characters, and they just love it. And everybody gets a laugh out of it. And laughter, to me, is like a medicine. Like it says in the Bible, laughter is like a medicine. So to hear people laugh, and then the greatest thing is when they come up in the end, and there might be a pastor and his wife sitting out here, or a religious organization, and they'll come up to me and they will say, thank you for the spiritual experience. And you know, which I didn't expect that. And they will say that, and then they would say, God is pleased with your ministry. And it just touches my heart and makes me know that this is where I want to be right now. Before I come out of the cabin, I always talk to the Lord. And I say, Lord, I know this is your purpose for me. Lead me to the people that you would have me to speak to on today. Help me to say something that will help them. And I find every time that happens. And sometimes I go up to people in the wheelchair and I kind of try to cheer them up. And at the end of my program, we do Amazing Grace. And you would be amazed that everybody knows Amazing Grace. So we sing it all together. And there's such a feeling of togetherness here. You know, I tried to overlook the things of the past. We have to leave the past behind to, you know, to go on and to claim the future. and to be who we are supposed to be. We cannot be who we are by having unforgiveness in our hearts and just, you know, for looking at people in a hateful, judgmental way. No, we have to do what God wants us to do, and He is love, so He wants us to love. So I'm a Gullah woman. I'm a Gullah woman, and I'm proud of the Gullahs and who they are, how they've persevered, and great things that we have done and great things that we're going to do.
Still to come on this special edition of Living Local, a visit to the gardens at Boone Hall Plantation to see how this special spot keeps visitors coming back for more each and every year. That and so much more when we return. We'll be right back.
Joining us today, we have Catherine Razor. She is the Master Gardener here at Boone Hall Plantation. Thanks for having us today.
Thank you for coming.
Everything looks absolutely amazing. And let's just start with this. Like, what does it take to run this type of operation here?
Oh, a little bit of insanity, I guess. It was quite a project. I've been at Boone Hall now for about 8 years. And when I met Mr. McCrae and he asked me if I could help him refurbish these gardens, they were kind of in a bad place. I told him I thought it would be a 5-year project. And I'm still here and I'm still working on it because it's really something that changes all the time, month to month, season to season, because we replant this garden 3 times a year.
Wow.
So there's always something different going on depending on what time of the year you choose to visit at Boone Hall.
Okay, so let's talk about through the year. Like, let's start in the, springtime.
So really, the spring garden that you would see here in March, April, May is planted in November and December. So this garden that that is behind us today is our hot weather garden. Mm-hmm. These are a lot of the tropicals that are kind of dormant in the wintertime that are now coming to full-fledged regalia here in August and September.
Does regalia mean bloom?
Just bloom, yeah. Bloom, I mean, full on. I mean, the cannas, the banana trees. We have a lot of tropical things here, like the torinias. All of that starts to pop. Also, though, annuals that we put in start to burn up, so we have to replant some of the annual beds, borders, and that will take us almost to December.
Okay.
And then this whole garden goes away, minus the roses and the boxwoods and the perennials. We take all that out, we refurbish all the beds, lay them all out again, and then we put in the cool weather garden.
And let's just talk real quick about the oak trees. You know, they just always take my breath away. Whenever I think of Boone Hall Plantation, this is what I think about. What kind of maintenance does it take to keep those things up?
Very little, actually. Live oaks or living oaks really take care of themselves. They have a massive root system, and especially the ones on the avenue, the root systems actually merge together as they form that line. And let's say if the oak tree to the right is not doing well or needs something extra, the oak tree to the left will cut off taking nutrients on that side so that tree can help the other tree live.
Like
so they're a really unique tree that is, you'll see only in coastal Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. You won't even see a living oak or a live oak in Greenville. You'll see oaks there, but not these. So they like being coastal, and they like the humidity.
And they like helping each other out,
right? Yes, and that's a living oak, yeah.
All right, before we head out though, one word to describe the gardens here at Boone Hall Plantation.
They're laid out in the shape of butterfly wings, which a lot of people don't know that. So it really kind of resembles, hopefully from the drone shots, the colorfulness you'll see in butterfly wings. And it's just it's a small garden, but there is a lot to see. And I have people tell me that all the time, like, oh my gosh, you really do have a flower garden here at Boone Hall. This is the best one we've seen, and we've been to all these different places. So that is what we try to always have something going on here. It doesn't matter if you even come in February, it'll be beautiful. Something will be going on.
Up next, our journey continues at Boone Hall Plantation. This time, we're heading out to the farm to see how the hardworking men and women make it all happen. It's a story of humble beginnings that you simply don't want to miss, as this special edition of Living Local continues, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Living Local. Joining us today, we have Eric Hernandez. He is the foreman here at Boone Hall Farms. Thank you so much for coming out this morning. Well, what I should say is that you've already been out here for quite a while this morning, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to talk about all of the hard work that you do out here, but for the folks at home who are unfamiliar with what Boone Hall Farms is, tell us what it is.
Well, Boone Hall, it's a place where we've been farming for, not we, but it's been farming for over 300 years. They started with cotton, indigo, rice, pecans, and now these days we're farming tomatoes, strawberries, watermelons, and a whole different variety of vegetables.
Pretty much anything you can think of.
Yes.
Right? Let's hear about you, Eric. Like, how did you get here?
Well, I've been working for Boone Hall for about 17 years, and Mr. Willie, I show him interested that I like the farm. I like what he did, and he started teaching me, and he started sending me to classes, and here I am now. He's my mentor now. He tells me, okay, we're gonna grow some watermelons, and he tells me a variety or what he likes, and I come over here and we grow it. We go from there.
So do you see this being a thing that like generations, like the next generation is picking it up? Or are you concerned that they're not going to be, you know?
Yes, no, but I think on our end now we have to, the new generations, I don't know if they're showing a lot of interest in farming, and it's kind of scary. So that's when we, as an adults and like me, that I'm interested in farming, I try to talk to, if I see a little kid, I'll mention something about the farm. You teach them something about the farm, and just let them know that their watermelon is not coming, it didn't grow in an aisle over there in Walmart or something, you know? That's important, knowing where their food is coming from.
Another thing I think people need to also understand is, aside from the fact hardworking families behind all of this, is that we love this culinary scene here in Charleston, but without you, it would be nothing.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to support your local farmers. I mean, the food tastes a lot better when it's local, it's growing locally. And I mean, we had to, like I said before, we had to help the farmers, help the new generations, encourage the new generations to farm, because without, not just me, but without any other farmer, is the
where
end
will
to
we
us.
be? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you won't be able to enjoy a watermelon for 4th of July.
I know, I can't, let me tell you, that would devastate my dad. So, well, I want to thank you for all that you do. You're such a humble guy, and you can tell that, you know, everyone loves you when you're here, and you bring such a passion and love for this. So we appreciate you sharing it with us.
I love being here, yep.
All righty, well, there's more Living Local. It's coming your way, so stay tuned. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Living Local. Joining us today, we have Natalie Knox. She's going to tell us about all of the events going on throughout the year at Boone Hall Plantation. Tell us about them.
Well, we have always a full calendar of special events at Boone Hall. So we usually start in January with our Low Country Oyster Festival. April is a big month for us with the Low Country Strawberry Festival. Then we move into July with our Stars and Guitars concert, usually a big country headliner for that event. Then we move into October, which definitely is the biggest month at Boone Hall. It's our annual Pumpkin Patch and Fright Nights, the entire month of October. November, then we move into our Scottish Games Festival, and then we wrap up the year in December with our Wine or the Oaks event and our Uncorked event. And then Christmas is just a really special time to visit Boone Hall as well.
And as always, you're doing things throughout the year with that, but tours and seeing Miss Gloria with her performances, you always have things going on, right?
We always say there is never a dull moment at Boone Hall.
Never a dull moment. All right, Natalie, thank you so much for giving us a little update on what you have coming out through the year. And for more information, you can head online to boonehallplantation.com.
We hope you enjoyed today's show, and before we head out, we'd like to say thank you to all of the wonderful folks at Boone Hall Plantation for giving us an opportunity to see why this is truly a place that brings people together in a very special, authentic way. So again, thank you for giving us this once-in-a-lifetime experience.